started. Um, just overall, could you just take a minute and just tell us about your organization, who you are, and kind of role within it?
Yeah. I work for the St. Louis Blues Hockey Club. This is my sixth season, I think, of working here and being the head coach of the St. Louis Blues hockey team. My role is obviously to coach the hockey club, but I think a lot of my role too is just doing stuff for the organization. There's a lot of people that are involved in the organization that I'm definitely involved in. From sponsors and just fans and season ticket holders and all that kind of stuff. There's obligations that I have to do, and I enjoy doing them. They're the people that really drive it all, is the fans and the season ticket holders. So you got to make sure that you take care of them. We have a great fan base here in St. Louis that are really supportive of the team.
Great. Would you briefly just tell us kind of like the vision of where you're heading towards, this upcoming year? It kind of coincides with some of the goals we'll be talking about, but just overall, was there like an overall vision that you had for the organization heading into this year or towards the end of the season or kind of rebuilding for next year?
Yeah. So coming into this year, we knew it was going to be a challenging year, I guess, a little bit. We had to make some decisions on some people going forward. We have a salary cap in this league, and you can't keep everybody. And we had some free agents that we probably couldn't sign because we had to move over to the younger guys and pay them. So, and one of them was our captain, Ryan O'Reilly, and it was tough. And I think that really affected the whole team, to be honest with you. And we didn't really do as good as we should have. But going forward, we traded all our free agents, including our captain, and it's kind of a change over to a younger group of players that we have here, and more that we have coming next year. Now, whether they make the team or not, these young guys out of junior, we'll have to wait and see. But there's probably a good chance that they can make it. So we'll have a real young team next year. And it's just about growing and trying to form some culture and chemistry with all these young guys, and leadership. That's the biggest thing, I think, is leadership. And they're all really kind of too young to lead the right way to win, so that takes some time. Who knows how long. I think everybody's different, but once we get that leadership down and the culture with all these young guys, we'll be really headed in the right direction. So I don't think we're rebuilding. I don't really call it that, because we have a number of players that are in a prime age to win still. So it's a retool, it's more of a retool.
Great, great. In addition to that, how would you describe, I guess, I know kind of coinciding with that, how would you kind of build morale? I mean, I kind of talked a little bit on it, but building morale and kind of building, do you have to adjust your leadership style as much when you kind of have, newer players, or you got rid of a lot more players, and it's kind of like you're seeing a lot of fresh faces, and also kind of coinciding with the coaching staff as well. I know, you might have had the same staff for the past, year or two, but when those additional assistant coaches or others, staffing coaches come on, is there anything that you have to adjust based on your leadership style or based on your communication style that kind of helps to kind of harmonize everything together?
Yeah, I think what you got to do for leadership, to teach players how to become leaders, is you gotta form a culture first and foremost, and then you got to really make sure that everybody's buying into that culture. And that's where the leadership starts to form. And the other thing is, you got to probably choose your three or four guys, maybe it's five guys that you feel are going to lead your team down the road, and you got to really spend a lot of time with them, put them in situations to lead. I think you got to teach them how to lead. But every player is going to figure out his own way of leading. There's guys that are vocal leaders. There's guys that are on ice leaders only, not off the ice. So there's got to be a variety of leaders, I believe. And I think it's just about teaching them how to do it. There's many ways you can do team building things that we do and get together and do a lot of team building stuff when we can. I know it's a busy schedule, but just making sure you get guys together and doing stuff together so they really start to really enjoy each other and want to be around each other and form that bond, because then that bond goes on the ice. And when you get, then you start to really play for each other. And that's the key, is just becoming a team. Like you could have great individual players, but if there's no team within those players, you'll never win. It's hard to win. You got to have a real good bond, real tight team. That's the key. And as far as coaches, we probably will be bringing in some new coaches, and I think it's important that we bring in, a couple coaches that are younger, that have new ideas, that are good with young players, with teaching skills, but also communicating with them. Maybe similar age and or maybe a little younger than, say, a guy like me, that can, work with these young guys and help them along the way.
Great. And I guess just to touch on, kind of like timing a little bit. I know, with the Philadelphia Flyers, your kind of coaching career was a little cut short. I was wondering, during that time, did you feel as though you were given enough time to actually like lead that team? And, in the next couple of seasons, were you capable of leading that team to success? And kind of like how, in addition to that, kind of coinciding with the Blues right now, do you think that having, those couple of seasons on your belt, having, a championship with the, farmer team as well, like having, the success behind that and having, the tenure there, it kind of builds upon those leadership skills as well?
Yeah, I think Philadelphia, what happened, I was there for a long time and became the head coach, but then our general manager stepped down and gave it to a new general manager, and the season didn't go quite as planned. I think, he didn't think that we were going to have a great year either. There was a bunch of aging veterans on that team that were probably going to be removed. But what happens is, a lot of times when a new GM comes in, he wants to bring his own coaches in. So that's kind of what happened there with me. And then coming here to St. Louis, I think, the biggest thing is forming a relationship with the general manager here, Doug Armstrong, which I did. I did that before I came here. I was doing some scouting for him and working for him. So he got to really know me and really know what I was all about. And so when I got the job, he just, we had some real good success right away and continued success after that. So I think, all our guys, all our young guys that are going to be coming in, understand that we're in a winning business, the St. Louis Blues, and this has been a down year, and it's really, we don't accept it. We don't want to accept it. And so next year, we want success again right away. Like we're hungry. We don't want to be in this situation where we're not in the playoffs for 3 years in a row. We don't want that. So I think all our guys know that. They've seen the winning tradition here and what we're all about. So I think all the players that'll be coming in will understand that, and they know that they got to perform.
Awesome, great. Leah,
Jesse, can I jump
yeah,
in here with a
yeah,
question?
of course.
I'm really curious. With a new team and with winning players, if you don't have immediate success, what are some strategies that you think that you're going to do to kind of keep them from going into kind of like a negative space?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's always, I think, different in every team in every situation. But I think what you got to do is, if things aren't going well, and I think you got to look at, so what are the problems? Like, do we have an issue with players, say individuals not performing well? Do we have issues with, maybe it's the attitude of certain individuals, maybe it's the attitude of the team. I think you got to identify the issue more than anything, and that's what you got to fix. you know, there's a lot of times that you can go through stretches throughout the season where you're playing some real good hockey, but you're not finding ways to win. You're finding ways to lose games. So, you know, confidence is a huge thing in this game from an individual standpoint and a team standpoint. And I think trying to, you know, create confidence and make your players confident and your team confident goes a long way. But you know, and saying what you're asking is there's a lot of different scenarios when you're losing. You know, there's different things, and I think as a coach, that the recognizing why you're losing, and again, it might not be. It might not be the game itself, the play of the game. It might be something else. It could be a culture problem. It could be players not getting along, could, you know, don't want to play for each other, and that's what you got to recognize as a coach. That's really important.
Awesome. Leah, Jim, did you have any other questions before we wrap up?
I don't
I'm
think so,
just,
no.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Leah.
No, I was gonna say, I don't think so, no.
Oh, I'm so curious because
Yeah,
you're not working with just like the average day Joe. Your players are like the best
yeah.
of their profession. Is there anything that you think that's unique about working with people that are in that space, that are like the best of the best?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you keep them from how do you like how is have you recognized anything that's different working with them in other jobs that you might have had in your life?
Um, well, yeah. So I think working with, you know, the NHL, which is the best league in the world. I've worked in leagues under the NHL that aren't the best in the world. It's kind of the guys that are working under you, like that are not in the NHL, the American Hockey League, for instance, or maybe junior hockey or college hockey. They're pleasers. They want to please and they want to get to the next level. So they do whatever you ask them to do. They constantly are trying to please you. Their work ethic is outstanding, their commitment, their competitiveness, because they want to get to the next level. I always found it, you know, I never had to motivate those guys to do anything. You know what I mean? They were motivated to go. So there was never a motivational issue. I think in the NHL, there's a lot of money that's obviously paid out to players, and you know, you can get comfortable. The best players in the NHL, the best players don't get comfortable. They want to, it's more than the game to them. It's a legacy for them. They want to go down as one of the greatest players of all time, and winning is very important because you will not go down as one of the greatest players of all time if you don't win championships. They're just, it's not going to happen. So they're highly motivated, but there's a lot of guys that you have to constantly try to motivate because they're getting paid good money. They're in the NHL, and they get comfortable. And I think that's the hardest part about the job is, you know, it's, you got to motivate people, and you shouldn't have to motivate them, but you have to. And you know, that's just kind of, that's where I see the difference.
Is that sometimes made easier when you're bringing in young players because there's
Sure.
that newness? Yeah.
Yep. Young players come in, they're highly motivated because they want to prove something, and they want to make their statement in the NHL. They got a lot of energy, and so they're the guys, you know, the mid-range guys that have gotten paid and they're getting a little older in the tooth sometimes. They can be hard to motivate.